All right.
Initial thoughts on Missouri State?
Yeah, they're gonna have a lot of, I think, newer faces. We returned obviously some guys, but I think they've kind of overhauled the roster in certain ways. So, not sure all of who we're getting or what they're gonna look like, but I think they've got a couple good running backs that are gonna be pretty formidable, and I think their tight end position is pretty strong. It looks like, and quarterbacks don't have much experience, but so we'll see how they adapt to playing for real, and don't know as much about their offensive line. It seems like that's going to be kind of a work in progress for them, at least right now, and some new faces in there. So not guys we've seen a whole lot of, but I think they've kind of got an advantage because they've with the coaching change there, and we think that we know what they're going to do, but not totally positive and sure. So we're going to come after them and get out of the gates fast and adjust and proceed as we need to.
They're using multiple quarterbacks. You might have to face another team like Oklahoma State using multiple quarterbacks this year. Just how does that affect your preparation, especially when they're players you don't have a lot of film on?
Yeah, in this case, it really doesn't. I said we've faced if one of their quarterbacks is more of a mobile quarterback than the other, we face mobile quarterbacks every day this fall. So I think we have certain things we like to do and are prepared for that. And if it's the other guy who's more of a not as much of a runner, obviously there's things for that too. So I don't really think it changes our preparation at all. It's not like we have two different game plans based on who's in there. There's just certain calls sometimes that you might stay away from if you knew you're going to get a guy that's going to run the ball a lot. So we just be mindful of those things.
There are a lot of orders on the defensive line. Just how much depth do you feel like you guys have in that position group?
Yeah, I think the oars are maybe because we maybe do have some depth, and like we can see that number of guys playing. So I feel like defensive end wise, there's probably 6 guys that will get a decent amount of some snaps. Defensive tackle probably 5 or 6. So I think that's been good competition, and it kind of fluctuates day by day sometimes. Guys really look good the last couple days, and then then the other guys start coming on. So I think it's been good for us because I think it helps our depth and makes us feel like we can put a number of guys in there and not really see drop off. So that's what those oars are about as much as anything else.
For you as a defensive coordinator, what do you look for in a week 1 game that makes you feel better about we're out for the first 4 weeks of the season?
Yeah, well, obviously we know that there's a lot of things about last year that probably at least defensively weren't satisfactory, and things we know we need to improve upon if we're going to be competitive week in and week out on the schedule that we're going to play. So really it's for guys to get out there and remember their training and perform in a way that they've been coached and what the expectations are. If we can do those things, like for us, it's just the basic parts of playing hard and playing fast and being physical and doing things in a fundamentally sound way. And if we can just start with those kind of things, I feel like that we'll be okay. So we're worried less about all the different kinds of defenses that we're going to run, and we obviously have them, but we're really thinking more about we've got to become a more dominant unit than we've been. We've got to assert ourselves more. We've got to start faster. We've talked a lot of times in the past about playing physical and what it really means to be a physical player, and we need to accomplish those things. And if we can start with that, I believe the rest of it will take care of itself.
Brian, one of the oars, I believe, was Burrows and Grant. Did Grant have a good camp?
Yeah, Marv's done a really, really good job. Some of that a little bit is, O.J. Burrow's been, he's been a little bit slowed, at least for part of camp with a minor injury, so he's back to full strength. But if you're just asking about Marv, I think I feel like the light bulb's gone on in certain ways for him. I think he's really become a lot more serious about what he's doing, spend a lot more time on it. He was in here yesterday afternoon. Like, hey Marv, walking down the hall, what's going on, Marv? Just in watching some film. Well, that would have never happened last year. So, the fact that he's really, I think he's driven to be really good. And I just noticed him today, just practicing extremely hard today. He's learning. He learns the safety. He obviously knows the safety position, but he also gets some reps at some of our sub package stuff, our nickel position, and he's embraced that. And so I'm really proud of him. And I think you're going to see a better version of Marv this fall.
Is that something where you went to him with those sort of thoughts on how he could improve, or did he do that himself?
Always, right? I mean, it's always feedback and end of year feedback and after spring ball, just feedback. But to me, it's the daily interaction, and it's the daily things as well about, and I don't always talk specifically to Marv Grant, but you talk to the position group or the unit sometimes about, what is really being a pro? What does that really mean? What do those guys do? What's that entail? And it's, everybody does a certain level of work, right? That's the bare minimum of things. And so the guys that are really driven, that really want to be good, are gonna go way beyond that. So he's a guy that's starting to go way beyond, right? As are other guys, but he's done a notable job of that.
You talked about just seeing guys trust their training and coaching and starting there. Is there one position group on the defense that you feel like is best equipped to go out and do that, or has shown you that throughout camp?
Well, we probably have the most experience in the secondary. We turned a bunch of guys that have played a lot of snaps. So 2 years ago they were playing because that's all we had. Now we're happy they're out there, and I think they've shown they can compete at the Power 5 level and help us win games. So I feel really good about those guys, that the situation won't be too big for them. And I don't know there's a position that I don't really feel that way. We're less experienced on the interior of the defensive line, so those guys got a tough job in there, and so we're looking for guys that again are gonna not just try to survive in there, but really try to do things in the way that it needs to get done, and so they can be successful and then help us be successful. So probably really need to see some things from our defensive front, and hopefully they'll produce.
You mentioned a more dominant unit too. What does that look like to you in your eyes?
Well, we talk about really stopping the run, right? The games that we were successful last year, we did a really good job in rushing defense. The games we weren't successful last year, we did not do a good job in running defense. So certainly making it difficult for a team to have any kind of consistent success running the ball, where they feel like we can't even try to run it, that we can't. That's always a good sign to me. We also talk about limiting big plays, preventing big plays. Again, if we chart ourselves, if we were 4 less runs of 10 yards or more per game, we were 6-0 last year. If we gave up more than 4 10-yard runs per game, we were 0-7. So right there, we got to limit big plays, and then we've got to knuckle down in the red zone. For a while last year, I thought we did a pretty good job. Towards the end, it kind of got away from us, but when a team gets in the scoring territory, it's, hey, we got to get a takeaway, get a turnover, right? We got to get a 4-down stop, or we got to force a field goal attempt, and we really keeping people out of the end zone. So if you can stop people from running the ball, eliminate big plays, and then force field goal attempts and not extra points, I think that's a good recipe for success. So that's sort of what we've talked a lot about that, and I think we're going to get it on Friday.
Coach, as a season opener, how much can a full house and a rowdy student section help your defense?
Yeah, it'll be fun, right? So they'll make it tougher on them, obviously, from an offensive standpoint, trying to communicate and things like that. I think that's the more the better, right? The louder the better. So and sometimes that might make it tough for us to communicate as well on defense, but quite honestly, we practice every day with the music at I don't know what level, but my ears hurt all the time. So, I feel like we're going to be probably a little bit more used to that maybe than they will. But Missouri State's they're a good team, and they've played Power 5 teams well over the last couple of years. So certainly not taking them lightly at all, or diminishing what their capabilities might be. That's a game where we're gonna worry about ourselves. We're gonna do the very best we can, and trust that the process that's gonna get us the end result of what we're looking for to.
Anything else, Coach?